picture a classic a farm-to-table breakfast for a second.
Okay.
You've got a sunny side-up egg sitting right in the center of your plate, and for a very long time, dietary trends told us to look at that yellow yolk with, suspicion.
Absolutely. Maybe even fear.
Right. We were always told to order the egg white omelet to protect our health. But today, we're kind of turning that old conventional wisdom completely upside down.
It is a remarkable pivot,
It
honestly.
really is.
Yeah.
Because we are looking at a massive new data set that suggests that exact same yolk might actually be one of the most potent, accessible shields we have against Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. We are totally moving past the old cholesterol debates and looking directly at the cutting edge of neurological health.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're exploring a really fascinating article from May of 2026, which breaks down some groundbreaking research published in the Journal of Nutrition.
And this isn't just a small trial either.
No, not at all. We are talking about a massive, long-term observational study linking egg consumption to a significantly lowered risk of Alzheimer's disease in adults over the age of 65.
Which is huge.
Exactly. So our goal today is to go way beyond the headline. We want to understand the physical mechanics of this. We're going to explore the specific compounds inside that shell, analyze the highly unique population the researchers tracked, and rigorously examine the caveats of the data.
Because context is everything in nutritional science. I mean, to understand the headline, we really have to understand the specific biology of the brain and the methodology of the researchers tracking it.
Right. So, okay, let's jump straight into the numbers from this study. Because at first glance, they seem almost too good to be true.
They really do.
The researchers found that eating at least 5 eggs a week reduced the risk of developing Alzheimer's by 27%. That's compared to people who ate no eggs at all.
Wow.
I mean, a nearly 30% drop in Alzheimer's risk just from keeping eggs in your weekly rotation.
And, in the realm of observational nutritional studies, a 27% reduction linked to a single whole food item is a very strong signal.
Yeah.
Usually when you're analyzing complex diets, the protective effects of any one specific ingredient are just deeply muted by everything else a person consumes.
But the detail that really stopped me in my tracks was the lower end of the spectrum.
Oh, right. The monthly data.
Yeah, the data showed that eating just 1 to 3 eggs a month was associated with a 17% protection rate against Alzheimer's.
Wild.
1 to 3 eggs a month. That's like doing one single push-up a month and
Yeah.
somehow getting 17% stronger. It just defies common sense.
It sounds impossible.
How in the world can such a microscopic amount of food move the needle on a disease as devastating and complex as Alzheimer's?
Well, what's fascinating here is to make sense of that push-up analogy, we really have to look very closely at the people doing the push-ups. This research was conducted by Loma Linda University, and they didn't just ask people what they ate last week. They tracked these individuals for an incredibly long time,
How long?
an average of 15.3 years.
Wow, 15 years.
Yeah. And instead of relying on subjective memory for cognitive decline, they cross-referenced these long-term dietary habits with hard medical diagnoses from Medicare data.
Oh, that's crucial. So we are dealing with a situation where a participant simply forgot if they had brain fog on a Tuesday.
Right, exactly.
We have 15 years of concrete medical records matched against their diet.
Yes. And nutritional epidemiology is notoriously noisy. I mean, people forget what they eat or they lie on surveys to seem healthier.
Aspirational eating.
Exactly. But by tracking actual medical outcomes over a decade and a half, the researchers cut through a lot of that noise. But the most crucial variable, the key to understanding that 17% drop from just a few eggs a month, is the specific population they studied.
Okay, who were they?
These participants are part of a massive ongoing project called the Adventist Health Study 2.
Oh, the Seventh-day Adventist community. This is a demographic that comes up a lot in longevity and public health research, right?
They do, constantly.
Yeah, they have a very specific baseline when it comes to lifestyle.
They really do. The Adventist community is heavily studied because they generally adhere to a highly healthy, largely plant-based lifestyle.
Right.
As a cultural baseline, this population consumes significantly less meat, virtually no alcohol or tobacco, and much higher amounts of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and whole grains compared to the average public.
So they're basically doing everything right.
Pretty much. They are already doing almost everything perfectly for their cardiovascular and metabolic health, which we know are the foundational pillars of brain health.
Ah, I think I see where this is going. If you take an average person eating a diet full of, ultra-processed fast food, One egg a month isn't going to act like a magical eraser for all that damage.
Not at all.
But if you have a pristine, highly healthy baseline diet, introducing even a tiny amount of whatever is in that egg offers an undeniable, measurable boost.
Precisely. The baseline is so incredibly clean that the neurological benefit of the egg stands out vividly in the data. There's just very little lifestyle noise to obscure the signal.
Which opens up a really fascinating biological mystery.
It does.
If this population is already eating mountains of vegetables, getting plenty of complex carbohydrates, and maintaining great cardiovascular health, what is the egg bringing to the table?
Right. What's missing?
Yeah, it has to be providing a very specific chemical tool for the brain that they aren't easily extracting from an entirely plant-based diet.
Exactly. We are looking for the missing puzzle piece in an already robust nutritional picture. And to find it, we have to look past the egg white and focus entirely on the yolk.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because when you look at the chemical makeup of the yolk, it stops looking like breakfast food and starts looking like a highly targeted biological care package for the human brain.
It really does.
The core nutrient the source text highlights is choline. A single egg yolk contains roughly 150 milligrams of choline, which is about a quarter of our recommended daily need.
And choline is an absolutely critical nutrient. Unfortunately, it's one that a significant portion of the population simply does not get enough of.
Really?
Yeah. It is often grouped in with the B-complex vitamins because of how it behaves, though it's technically a distinct macronutrient.
Okay.
The reason the human brain is so reliant on choline comes down to what the brain physically manufactures from it. Choline is the direct, necessary building block for a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine.
Acetylcholine. If memory is the software of the brain, acetylcholine seems to be the code.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. Acetylcholine is the primary chemical messenger tasked with memory formation, learning, and sustained attention.
So it's basically doing everything.
Yeah. Every single time you learn a new physical skill, recall a complex piece of information, or simply focus your eyes to read a paragraph, your neurons are rapidly firing acetylcholine across synapses to communicate with one another.
Wow.
Without a constant, sufficient supply of dietary choline, the brain physically struggles to manufacture this messenger.
So if you're deficient, the brain simply doesn't have the raw materials to draft the message.
Right.
But wait, the source material also mentions that choline deficiency can alter the physical structure of cell membranes and nerve signaling. That tells me this isn't just about the chemical message.
No, not at all.
It's about the physical hardware of the brain itself.
Exactly. The brain is an incredibly fat-rich organ. It relies entirely on complex lipids for its architecture.
Okay.
The outer wall of every single cell in your brain, the membrane that protects the cell and houses the receptors, is made of a phospholipid bilayer. Dietary choline is physically required to maintain the structural integrity and fluidity of that cellular wall.
Oh, wow. So if that wall becomes rigid or damaged because the body lacks the nutrients to repair it, the nerve signals can't pass through effectively.
Exactly.
It sounds like trying to get a clear Wi-Fi signal through a lead wall. You might have the message ready to go, but the structural environment just prevents the transmission.
Which is why the egg yolk's design is so elegant. It provides the raw materials to manufacture the chemical messenger, and it provides the exact structural components needed to build the cellular towers transmitting that message.
That is amazing. But a brain functioning at that high of a level, constantly firing synapses and maintaining cellular walls, it has to generate a lot of biological exhaust.
It does, a massive amount.
And that leads to the next major component, the article highlights, which are antioxidants. Specifically, the egg yolk contains lutein and zeaxanthin. Now, those are carotenoids.
Yes, they
I
are.
usually hear those associated with dark leafy greens.
Right. Spinach, kale, collard greens, they're the most famous dietary sources for lutein and zeaxanthin.
But wait, here is my hesitation with that. We just established that the Adventist population is eating a largely plant-based diet. They are likely consuming plenty of spinach and kale.
Sure.
If they can get these powerful antioxidants from a giant salad, why does the tiny amount found in an egg yolk suddenly result in a 17 to 27% drop in Alzheimer's risk?
It seems like a massive contradiction until you factor in the mechanics of bioavailability.
Bioavailability.
Yes, bioavailability dictates how much of a nutrient your digestive system can actually absorb and utilize, rather than simply, pass through your body.
Ah, so you could eat an entire mountain of kale, but if the bioavailability is low, your brain never sees the benefit.
Precisely. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble pigments. If you consume them without the presence of the right kind of complex fat, your digestive tract simply cannot absorb them efficiently.
And the yolk has the fat.
Exactly. The egg yolk happens to be about 30% phospholipids, the same complex fats we just discussed regarding cell membranes.
Oh, I see.
The yolk provides the absolute perfect lipid matrix to dissolve those specific antioxidants and transport them directly through the intestinal wall and into your bloodstream.
So the egg doesn't just contain the nutritional payload. It comes with its own customized, highly efficient delivery truck.
That's a great way to put it.
Oh,
And remarkably, the research notes that the standard process of cooking the egg doesn't destroy the chemical effectiveness of the lutein and zeaxanthin.
that's convenient.
Very.
Mm.
And once those pigments are absorbed into the bloodstream, they do something extraordinary. They manage to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They literally physically accumulate within your brain tissue
Right.
as well as in the macula.
The macula.
Right? It's the small area at the dead center of your retina that is responsible for all of your sharp, detailed vision.
So these pigments from the yolk actually park themselves permanently inside the brain tissue.
They do. And once they lodge themselves in the tissue, they act as a hyperlocal defense system.
Against that biological exhaust we were talking about.
Exactly. As the brain burns massive amounts of energy to function, it creates oxidative stress. Basically, free radicals that damage cells.
Right.
Over the course of decades, this chronic oxidative stress, combined with underlying inflammation, acts as a primary driver of cognitive decline and diseases like Alzheimer's.
So antioxidants are fighting that.
Yeah, the lutein and zeaxanthin sit right there in the tissue, actively neutralizing those free radicals, improving the fluidity of the cell membranes, and keeping the communication pathways open.
Man, add to that the omega-3 fatty acids present in the yolk and the fact that those specific lipids are actively aiding the neurotransmitter receptors. I mean, it genuinely operates like a biological care package.
It really is unique in nature.
But okay, as much as the cellular biology is incredibly compelling, we have to pause and look at the fine print of the study itself.
I suspect we are about to discuss the funding source.
We have to, because it is a very critical detail included in the source text. This study was partially funded by the American Egg Board, and whenever we see an industry group providing financial backing for a scientific study that, happens to show a massive health benefit to their specific product, we have to apply a rigorous critical lens. So what does this all mean? Do we throw the baby out with the bathwater or the yolk out with the shell?
Well, this raises an important question. We must apply a critical lens. Navigating industry funding is one of the most complex challenges in reviewing nutritional science.
For sure.
The funding source cannot be ignored, and it requires us to approach the conclusions with immediate caution. We must remember the fundamental rule of this kind of data. This is an observational study.
Right. Correlation.
Yes. It showed strong correlation. People who ate more eggs had less Alzheimer's. But by its very design, it cannot definitively prove a direct, isolated cause and effect.
Okay.
The involvement of the American Egg Board means we must scrutinize the methodology of the researchers much harder.
But when we look at the methodology, it seems incredibly solid. I mean, Loma Linda University is a highly respected institution. They tracked the data for 15 years.
Exactly.
They used hard medical records rather than relying on subjective memory, and they controlled for the broader dietary factors of the Adventist population.
Right, so we don't dismiss robust data simply because of the funding source. But we do look to see how that data aligns with the broader, pre-existing scientific consensus.
And does it?
It does. And this is a point that the lead author of the study, Jisoo, heavily emphasizes. These findings are not occurring in an isolated vacuum. They are entirely consistent with decades of existing, independent, peer-reviewed science on brain nutrition.
So independent researchers already knew that choline is the precursor to acetylcholine.
Yes.
We already knew from independent biology that lutein crosses the blood-brain barrier and fights oxidative stress.
Exactly. The American Egg Board may have provided funding to help analyze this specific 15-year data set from Loma Linda, but they did not invent the biochemical reality of what is inside a yolk. The independent biology has established the protective mechanisms of these nutrients for a very long time. The data set is simply confirming what the cellular biology suggested would happen.
I see. The funding might be pointing the flashlight, but it doesn't change the physical objects sitting in the room.
That's a great analogy.
And looking at the bigger picture, the lead author made a point to ensure this data isn't misinterpreted as a license to eat poorly. I mean, the eggs are not a magic pill that can outwork a terrible lifestyle.
Not at all. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ultimate conclusion of this research is that eggs provide an additional, measurable benefit within the framework of a lifestyle that is already favorable.
It's an add-on.
Exactly. It is a complementary effect. The dense, highly bioavailable nutrients in the yolk are filling in the microscopic nutritional gaps that even a meticulously planned plant-based diet might leave open.
It is just incredibly empowering to realize that the small choices we make at the grocery store genuinely compound over decades.
They really do.
I mean, we started this deep dive looking at a 27% risk reduction in an exceptionally healthy group of people over the age of 65. And we traced that massive abstract statistic all the way down to the microscopic cellular level.
It's quite a journey.
We looked at how a tiny amount of choline provides the physical raw material for the chemical messengers of memory. We looked at how bioavailable antioxidants hitch a ride on lipid molecules, cross the blood-brain barrier, and physically fight off the rust of oxidative stress inside our very cells.
It's profound.
It really is a potent reminder that protecting your brain doesn't necessarily require some futuristic high-tech intervention. It might be as accessible as understanding the chemistry of your breakfast.
It fundamentally shifts the paradigm of how we view nutrition. And, as we conclude, I want to leave you with a concept to mull over, drawn directly from the physiological mechanics we explored today.
Oh, please do.
We are culturally conditioned to think of the human brain as this isolated, impenetrable fortress, somehow completely detached from the rest of the body. We tend to view memory, personality, and cognition as these abstract, ethereal concepts.
Yeah, that's true.
But knowing what we now know about the physical journey of these nutrients, knowing that a yellow pigment from an egg yolk gets digested, enters your bloodstream, physically travels up into your skull, and permanently lodges itself inside your brain tissue to protect your synapses, it forces us to ask a very real question every time we sit down to eat.
What's that?
Are we simply feeding our bodies to generate enough energy to get through the day? Or are we actively building the physical architecture of our future memories with every single meal we choose?
Actively building the physical architecture of our future memories. Wow. I know I am going to be looking at my breakfast a lot differently tomorrow morning. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. As always, keep questioning the world around you, keep learning, and stay curious.